You are listening to Fantha Tracks.
Because of the following special program, Wonder Woman and the Incredible Hulk will not be presented this evening.
It's time to get all your Star Wars news in a single file. This is Making Tracks. Here are your hosts, Mark Newbold and Mark Mulcaster.
It's not true. That's impossible.
You're listening to Making Tracks. This is episode 193. I'm your co-host, Mark Newbold, and joining me today is a man who makes flying a fictional X-Wing look as easy as riding a fictional Tauntaun. It's Mark Mulcaster. Mark, how you doing, mate?
I'm all right, mate. I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
Very good. We're at the National Space Centre at Galactic Gathering, Festival of the Force. I actually remember the name of it.
Well done.
That's
yes,
rare.
It's quite a mouthful.
It really is. And we're sitting underneath what looks like a space capsule of some design. I should know what it is. It's written down somewhere. But loads going on. We found a quiet corner, or a relatively quiet corner, to do this as live episode that I promise I won't edit. So, before we get into our regular nonsense, has anything new come into your collection this week? The old eternal question.
Yes. I got the new John Jackson Miller signed copy.
Sweet.
From
Inkstone?
Inkstone. It's the one with the black pages. So I got that. That's very, very nice. So that's like 350 out of 500. Pretty happy with that. Other than that, and we are recording this, let's not forget, on May the 4th.
Yes.
So, that is the only thing, because I was kind of holding off until today, and I figured I'd be able to find 10 minutes to just scroll through all the deals and stuff on my phone, but I kind of shattered my phone yesterday, so I need to borrow Karen's phone and see if I can buy some stuff.
As if you've not spent enough money already buying a new phone.
Exactly. Well, luckily I can get them insurance, but still, it's kind of like, not having your phone in this day and age feels like you have literally lost a limb.
Yeah,
so
it's very Star Wars, really, isn't it?
It is very, yeah. So how about yourself?
Nothing in hand yet, but I do know that a friend has secured for me the Starbucks mug, the Hoth mug from Disney Store, which I'm really excited about because I do collect those. I'm only missing one of the range so far, so I'm really pleased about that. And there's a couple of pins that came out. There's an R2-3PO, and there was another pin, I can't remember, I think Boba Fett was on one of the pins, so I have got those put by for me, which I'm really, really chuffed about. Nothing else really came into the collection this week other than what I'm doing now. This is weird. I saw a post on Facebook, and it was basically about, remember when, you might not remember, when Woolworths were selling off the old figures in the 80s, they put them in these little baggies, and they put stickers on them saying, 99p for 4 figures or whatever it was, just to get them gone. There was a query about whether or not these were the real deal, these bags and stickers and so on. Right. But I just saw them, knowing that I'm never going to pass them off as real anyway, and I just want to display them. I saw these stickers, they were really good price, the bags were really good, and they come and if they're not real, then they've been made scrunched up to look as real. I thought, that's good enough for me, I know exactly what I'm doing with them. Got some of the little baggies to put the figures in with the guns. Cool. So I'm going to kind of make my own completely fake, Woolworths style bags. So that they turned up this week. So I'm quite pleased about that. That'll be a nice little project to do.
Yeah. And I suppose in some respects it's just a little kind of corner of time, really, isn't it? It's a little slice of time. But I can remember I went to some birthday parties when I would have been around about probably 6 or 7, so 86. And in the party bags, you used to get baggies of Star Wars figures, just a single figure in that. And I think back and I was like, holy hell, how cool was that? And I can remember getting Luke, Return of Jedi Luke in one, and I can't remember what my brother got, but then some of them were emperors and stuff like that. And again, it's just one of those things that just happened, and at the time you just I didn't know any better, but now you kind of think, oh, those are so cool, but it's just a little kind of slice of time that they will never do anything like that again. So
exactly. Just a quick shout out to Vintage Rebellion podcast and Star Wars Forum UK, because when I looked into this, Andy Preston had done a whole piece looking into the history of the bagged Woolworths stuff, and it was absolutely fascinating. A lot of it way out of my knowledge base, but a real interesting read, so absolutely fantastic, so hats off to the guys for that.
Hey, it's Alyssa Wong, writer of Dr. Aphra, and you're listening to Fantha Tracks.
We're here at the Space Centre, as we say. We've just had this week, well, today as we speak, it's May the 4th. We've had the arrival of Tales of the Empire, which is fantastic.
Have you seen it?
I've seen it.
Well done.
Very lucky to see it, and it's well worth a couple of hours watching. Fantastic. But a lot of people haven't seen that yet. A lot of people have seen the final episode of The Bad Batch.
Yes.
So we've not really talked a lot about The Bad Batch. I mean, we do our reaction chats for the live action stuff, but we don't do it so much for the animated stuff. Maybe in future we'll have a little think about that and involve ourselves a bit more in the animated stuff, because I think there's a lot more coming.
Yes.
But not only as a standalone episode or the end of a season, but the end of a whole series. What did you make of that final episode of The Bad Batch, The Cavalry Has Arrived?
So, I mean, two things. I thought, and let's give it a little bit of a spoiler warning, because I'm just going to trample all over the plot line anyway. So it was really cool, because I'm pretty sure I had heard rumours or something about like the Zillo Beast making a return, and I sat there when I was watching the episode kind of going, how cool is it that like they tied up something from the Clone Wars, which was just to me a random as hell mega random episode. Was one of those episodes of like, I know we're going to do like a whole homage kind of like to a certain genre of like cinema in the Clone Wars, and then for somebody to kind of have the forethought and presence kind of like of mind to bring this back and actually have it as like, you know, really what you could almost say the Deus Ex Machina of this like episode, whereby it kind of really kind of tips the balance of the episode. So I thought that was like really neat, and I wasn't expecting, I think I said this last week, I wasn't expecting everybody to make it out, and okay, so everybody did make it out, but what surprised me most, and I think the best part of it, was actually that little jump forward in time to older Amiga going off and joining a rebellion, which I think is very apt, and hopefully, if anything else, I'd love to now see that being picked up in a live action, because I think that would be something fantastic. Hell, even Andor.
Can't argue with that, yeah, totally. She was such a good character, I think.
Yeah.
It's one of the rare characters that we've really followed from her beginning. It's a bit like Jyn in Rogue One.
Yeah.
Jyn in Rogue One, you saw the prelude as opposed to a post scene, because obviously she doesn't make it out of Rogue One, and I think a lot of us thought that Bad Batch might end like Rogue One with everyone going.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah.
And Jin's moment, I'm waggling the air quotes, very much is exactly what you see in Rogue One, and it's not like you could do a spin-off about Jyn, because pre-Rogue One, she's living a random nothing life, really, keeping her head down, and then everything that happens in Rogue One is, we've seen it.
Exactly.
So it's difficult. But with Amiga, you pick her up at a point where her prior life is quite dull and pedestrian, and she just happens to be a bright kid and an optimistic kid, and it's just how she is. And then you watch her grow through those 3 seasons. So yeah, like you say, to get to that end bit, when it finished, it did. I was thinking, are we going to have the Return of the King ending? Are we going to have like 6 endings?
Yeah.
Thankfully we didn't. Although I love that film, it gets me every time. But just that final bit was just so sweetly done, as you say, and seeing Hunter, an older Hunter, because obviously they age quicker, you know, and name checking Wrecker and Crosshair, and you know, knowing that the other guys were still around.
Yeah, I mean, that was the only little kind of sad thing, was that we only saw Hunter, but I suppose really her relationship with Hunter was like much more paternal than it was with the others. And I mean, she basically, I think she kind of says it in the episode, like literally by the end of it, like she's been trained across those 3 seasons for that moment, to be able to, you know, carry off and kind of like get out of Tantis and destroy Tantis and all the research and stuff. So I thought that was kind of like, you know, they've really thought about her whole character arc, and I wouldn't be surprised if it was something that's been very much present from season 1, even before they kind of really committed it. It's actually, how do you have a succinct story arc that shows character development and nuance, like with every single episode.
And also, I suppose, like you say, when you leave Omega at the point where she's got the nerve and the determination and the will to get in that ship and fly off and join the rebellion, she's obviously thought about it, planned it. You don't just fly out there and hope you find them. It's a bit like Biggs in A New Hope. Oh, we jump ship from the Randy Ecliptic and linked up with people. So she's obviously gone to lengths to make it happen. Who she's going to meet, it just reminded me, and I guess it's how they wanted it, the Clone Wars had that ending, that bit with Vader finding the lightsabers. That didn't leave it hanging in the same way that, let's say, Rebels did, when you wonder about what's going to happen with Ezra, and of course we found out in Ahsoka. Yeah. But now, Omega, as you say, are we ever going to see a live action, or maybe? You've got to hope that there's more animation. It's clearly going to be more animation, but beyond small stuff like Visions and Tales of the Empire or Tales or whatever, that maybe the next series will be led by Omega starting her cell.
Yeah, it could be. That would be something really cool. Would be to almost have a continuation in that Clone Wars kind of style into, I guess, maybe early days of Rebellion and maybe follow it through. Or alternatively, as you said about Jyn, who basically has her moment where she shines and sacrifices herself, maybe we've seen Omega's moment. Maybe she goes off, joins Rebellion, and shuttles people around and stuff like that, but doesn't do anything extraordinary. So, but I think they've definitely they've created a character with intention to kind of propel her on, and I think she's a good vehicle for young fandoms to kind of see that original trilogy through different eyes and a different perspective, which is adjacent to the Skywalker saga without it necessarily being focused on. So it would be cool. Hopefully, we get I don't know, what would you call it? Project Amiga? I don't know. What would you call it? What would you call an Amiga OT era series?
I don't know. It's a good question, because I'm trying to think back to Rogue One when they go through all the different names of projects and stuff, and there is a moment in this where Tantis, I thought when that Star Destroyer turned up they were going to level Mount Tantis, and they didn't, and they left it around. Basically Tarkin says dustball it, mothball it, and it just made me think, they're kind of leaving that around, because if they ever want to do Heir to the Empire to any degree, you've got to do it as Tantis, haven't you?
You've got to, and Tarkin mentions Project Stardust,
exactly.
So
divert all resources to Project Stardust. Now that really made me think, because at the start of the season we had that great appearance from the Emperor, when he basically gives Hemlock all the latitude to spend what he needs, do what he needs, and it sort of popped up throughout the season where the Imperial machine, with the officers as a part of that, are kind of going, how are you justifying all this spend? And Hemlock's like, I've got an open checkbook, mate. But it's the two things are kind of going against each other. So I wonder where or how Tarkin had the control, the power, the scope to say, especially at that point of his career, to say, mothball Project Necromancer. Because clearly the Emperor wants that done. And Omega's part of it. Mothball that and divert all resources to Project Stardust, which we already know is up and running. We saw the plans at the end of Attack of the Clones. We saw it being built at the end of Revenge of the Sith. This is 3 or 4 years on.
Exactly.
For everything in one location, daily news, reviews, interviews, podcasts, video and social media feeds, bookmark FanthaTracks.com for Star Wars news 24/7, 365.
Tarkin's got enough clout to be able to save it, but at the same time it's the Emperor's project, which we know doesn't kind of stay dormant, or if it doesn't stay dormant for very long. So, but then we kind of see in stuff like Catalyst how Tarkin kind of asserts his authority over the Death Star building construction, and again moves funding from Thrawn's TIE Fighter Defender project away. So he's clearly got the leverage, and maybe he's just whispering in the Emperor's ear, look, you basically got an HS2 on your on your card. It's just you're just sinking money into nothing. So why don't we just reallocate it to this other project, which might be worthwhile.
You've just made a point that's really made me think of a parallel that's never occurred to me before. We always look at the Phantom Menace, obviously 25 years old, right, pretty much right now, back in the cinemas this weekend, and think, wow, if Qui-Gon Jinn hadn't have died, how different would it have been for the Jedi Order?
Yeah.
You think now Tarkin dying on the Death Star, not taking that shuttle and getting out like he was advised to, and he dies, how integral. We always think of Thrawn as a master tactician, but Thrawn's got an external purpose of protecting the Chiss and all the other stuff that he does. But Tarkin, as a company guy, was very much on point and very much in control. As you say, he steps over Krennic, he steps over other people to make projects move ahead, and clearly he's got latitude because we saw it in the Bad Batch. Wow, what if Tarkin hadn't have gone as the real tactician? Sidious is doing his Sith stuff. it's all a means to an end. This Empire is a means to an end for the Sith, but as a pure thing that succeeds the Republic, the Empire, if they'd have kept Tarkin around, things would have been very different, wouldn't they?
Well, yeah, definitely, because you'd think, would, say, like Vader been able to go on that rampage and basically just look for Luke Skywalker and the way they did? I mean, the other thing is, of course, would Tarkin, he'd have to do a lot of kind of like backpedaling just to cover his arse, because ultimately, I guess, he said, this is my project, so therefore, ultimately if it gets destroyed, it's probably down to him. Now, so would he actually survive that longer? But I imagine if he got off that battle station, he probably would have been able to sweet talk his way out of it. But I think it would be a different Empire that would be like hunting down the rebellion. And I think it probably wouldn't just be a couple of like Star Destroyers that turned up at Hoth. I think it would probably be the entire fleet. So we may not have actually seen like a Return of a Jedi.
That's true. That's a good point. It's just that parallel of using the Emperor as a Sith, using the Empire as a tool, rather than the Empire as a machine running itself and doing what it should do as a military unit, taking out the rebellion, or a rebellion to it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, those are two very big, like, what-if kind of questions that would be really interesting to be explored. And it would be something that, like, unlike what if, say, Vader didn't turn to the dark side, that kind of stuff. I wonder if it would actually even be even more complicated to try and explain that. But it would be fascinating to find out.
Yeah. Maybe a Star Wars Visions type mini-series on May the 4th next year would be a good place to do that.
I'll be down for that, yeah.
I'm Neil deGrasse Tyson, and you are following Fantha Tracks.
So, it's a busy weekend. Fantha's going up to Star Wars Fan Fun Day up in Blackburn tomorrow as we speak. You're here for the whole weekend at the National Space Centre, representing Fantha tomorrow. Outside of that, May the 4th, busy weekend, lots of products coming out, but also in the last few days we've had the release of the Celebration Japan tickets. Now, I've seen loads of people online, loads of folks in the UK were up at midnight online getting their tickets, panicking, can't get them, can get them. We got lucky, we got some tickets, so we're okay in that respect. Just got to sort out flights and all the other malarkey that's going to cost an arm and a leg. What have you made of all the not the fuss, but all of the stuff surrounding Celebration Japan and getting tickets? It never gets easier, does it?
It doesn't get easier. In fairness, I've seen a lot more positive feedback than I think last time for London. London, it seemed to be a lot of negativity. I mean, there's been grumbling as to like how fair it is to allow the VIPs to have a VIP early access, and I think maybe. Yeah, but, I mean, the thing is, like, this is a continually evolving process, and I guess you've got to try stuff. I mean, but it seems like one of the improvements this year is that, like, the single-day tickets aren't, like, double the price.
Yes.
Which last time for London was ridiculous. Like, if you missed out on a 3-day pass, then some people were literally just priced out of going for, well, it was 4 days, wasn't it? For 4 days.
Yeah.
So at least it seems like, okay, so there's a little bit of an uplift, but it's not like anywhere near as dramatic. And, if nothing else, it means you've got 4 free lanyards, so that's cool,
true. That's true.
But yeah, I mean, last year, last time it was last year, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was 4 days. So this one's 3 days.
Yeah.
So it's a slightly shorter convention, but that again might not necessarily be a reflection on London. It might just be a reflection on either how conventions are run out in Japan, and also maybe they think about, like, is it worth them doing a 4th day? Was the 4th day in London worth the extra expense, or because it was a lot quieter.
It was.
So.
What do you think of that, though? I mean, Chicago was 5 days. Generally, there were 3. Then they stepped it up to 4. But with all the stuff that comes out, I mean, okay, right now as we speak, we've just had Tales of the Empire. We've just had the end of the Bad Batch. We've got Acolyte a month today landing as we speak.
That's right.
And then rumours come out via Collider that we're going to get Skeleton Crew at Christmas. Next year, we know we're getting Andor Season 2. But above and beyond Andor Season 2, we don't really know yet what else we're going to get. Hopefully there'll be announcements at Celebration, but Celebration's still a year away. So you're just going to wonder, obviously it's an anniversary year, 20th of Revenge of the Sith, 10th of Force Awakens, so there's going to be a lot of investment in that, you would imagine. And for the next 5 years, we've got 10th anniversaries, don't forget, because the year after it's Rogue One, the year after that it's Last Jedi, so we've got all these anniversaries.
That's true, yeah. I suppose that nobody thought about that when we were like, let's do one a year, yeah. I mean, I suppose the thing is that, like you said, we're kind of getting to a point whereby like almost every year feels like there's going to be an anniversary of something, which is good because it kind of does mean like you can tilt some of the merchandise to kind of celebrate that, but you don't have to do it to such an extreme that it's everything. And I think actually one thing that like I learned and like Lucasfilm fed back and we fed back to Lucasfilm after London was, do the clubs need to start catering and looking for like stuff for Japan around like the 10th anniversary of Force Awakens and what have you? And we're like, no, you don't have to, because like we're going to have we will do our own celebration. We, you don't need you to do it as such. We're not relying on you. If you want to, you can, but. And they're like, because the thing is, like, there's so much Star Wars out there. So I think maybe some of these anniversaries will probably just slip by, and we mark it on Fantha Tracks and in the calendar and stuff, but it won't necessarily be like massive and that. But like, and this weekend, I mean, have you been able to see Phantom Menace at the cinema yet?
Really keen to. Want to see the Acolyte stuff on the big screen, but probably not. With Fan Fun Day tomorrow, we're already at the cinema on Monday to see Fall Guys, so it's going to be a struggle to do it. So really do want to do it big time, but yes.
Yeah, no, I mean, we managed to get tickets for Monday. In fact, actually I've got 2 showings on Monday, so yeah. And one of them was in 4DX, so that's quite cool. So yeah, kind of figured, well, if we're going to go see it, might as well go see it in a slightly different format. I saw the 3D one when it came out. Was it 2012?
2012,
yeah. So God, so that was like 12 years ago.
That was the last film I saw in the big screen at the Empire.
Oh really?
Before they broke it all down into smaller ones.
Yeah. Wow. So that was cool. So yeah, I mean, it seems like Reed Pop and Lucasfilm have listened to the celebration goers last year, and it seems like there's some positive improvements. And so let's wait and see what actually kind of comes out and what announcements they have. I've already announced a few familiar faces to Japan. So
Ashley Eckstein, Anthony Daniels, Tamura Morrison, and
Doug Chang.
Doug Chang, well done. So there's 4 already announced. We know there's going to be multiple more people than that. It's a local show, it's an international show.
Yeah.
So you would imagine they're going to fold in as much of that Japanese feel as possible, because that's one of the major Star Wars markets.
Yes.
So they're going to want to get as much flavour of that in there as possible.
Yeah, we can see that already by the key art and the fact that when I did log on to look to buy tickets, it was all in Japanese. So,
oh right, okay,
yes,
yeah.
I looked at it and went, okay, that's going to trip some people up. So yeah, but
good old Google Translate.
Exactly, yeah.
I got lucky. I was up posting on the site, knowing that this weekend I probably won't get a chance to post. So I was just piling into that, and then looked at the clock, and it was like 20 past 12.
Oh, really?
And hadn't even thought about where to get tickets from. And thankfully, messaged Brian,
Fantha Tracks
Brian, who sort of just messaged back and said, "Don't worry, I've got you covered." So thank you, Brian, who's literally in the other room as we speak. So he sorted that out. But yeah, it's a celebration. It's going to be awesome. I'm just curious, talking to a lot of the folks here. We've got all the fellow, obviously you're representing the Rebel Legion, but all the other groups as well. Talking to lots of folks, wondering, well, what's going to come in 26? Where are we going to be in 26? Obviously, we're definitely going to be somewhere in 27 in the States.
Yeah.
Where will it be? Will there be a second celebration in 25, maybe? Because it's been 3 years since the last American one. I don't think there's ever been that long of a gap.
No, I was going to say, that's the thing. But then you would have thought, if they've announced Japan, then if they're going to go back to America, they would probably announce it, and it wouldn't be the first time that they would have announced another location before we've actually had a celebration.
Well, we had that celebration in Europe in 2016. Yeah, announced Orlando, didn't they?
Exactly. So and that's the thing. There's it's interesting. It's like it is expensive to go out to Japan, and that the flights are. If you start looking for a couple of people, man, it starts to get a couple of grand plus.
Yeah.
So it's we've got some members going out, some members who are I bought tickets but I'm not sure yet, so I might have to sell them on. So I guess they're banking on there being a light kind of reselling service.
Yeah.
So yeah, fingers crossed. I for myself won't be able to go, I don't think. Because me and Karen were looking at it the boys want to come as well, so suddenly that's like 4 flights, and so that's like pricey. So I figured maybe I'd just hold back to like the next one in America. The boys will be old enough that they can either pay for themselves or they don't come, and therefore I get to spend more money on merchandise.
Good old merchandise. We'll definitely talk about that, because it'd be great to see you over at a US show.
Yeah.
So we're going to head back into the hall now. We're going to have a mooch around, take more pictures, get more audio, see what's going on. So I think until next week, when we reconvene, we shall say ta-ra for now.
Ta-ra for now.
Visit fanthatracks.com or be sure to comment, like and share on our social media feeds at Fantha Tracks. Send in your listeners' questions by emailing radio@fanthatracks.com. Subscribe, leave a review, preferably a 5-star one, on Amazon Music, Audible, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your podcatcher or smart speaker of choice. And as always, thanks to James Temple for composing the Fantha Tracks intro, Adam O'Brien for our Making Tracks opening music, and Mark Daniel and Vanessa Marshall for our voiceovers. Tune in to Good Morning Tatooine. It's live Sunday evenings, 9 o'clock UK, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific, on Facebook, YouTube and Twitch. And check out our Fantha Tracks Radio Friday night rotation every Friday at 7 o'clock UK time for new episodes of The Phantom from Down Under, Planet Layer, Desert Planet Discs, Start Your Engines, Collecting Tracks, Can of Fodder, and special episodes of Making Tracks, and every Tuesday at 7 o'clock UK time for your weekly episode of Making Tracks. And remember, fanthatracks.com, our social media feeds, Fantha Tracks TV and Fantha Tracks Radio are absolutely so no Patreon, Buy Me a Coffee, Kickstarter or Indiegogo required to stay updated on all the latest Star Wars news.
Coming up next on Fantha Tracks Radio, it's another episode of Making Tracks.